What's up, guys? I'm going to do the India YouTuber thing where I talk about the Lakers 3 days into the season because it's overreaction time, and so I'm going to feed into the overreaction hype machine. Not actually. I'm not going to. I'm not going to do that because I hate it. I'm not going to freak out and say the Lakers are going to suck this year or whatever, and they're not a contender because of course they obviously still are. At least at this point, we have to see how things shake out, right? But I am going to talk about what I've seen from them over the first couple of games of the season for the Lakers, and some concerns that I have. Again, not saying that they're going to be bad, but I do want to talk about at least some concerns that we can see starting to pop up through the first couple of games. So with that all said, what's up, guys? My name is Ethan. Welcome to Splash City. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, let's talk about the LA Lakers here. So this is a team that is sitting at 1-2 right now. Just picked up their first win of the regular season with a 1-point victory over the Grizzlies. I guess it ended up being a 3-point victory, but it was basically super close. Ja Morant missed one final free throw that would have sent it to overtime. He had the 3 free throws, got fouled on the 3-point attempt, hit the first 2, and missed the last one that would have tied the game. So could have gone to overtime. Maybe the Grizzlies win there, but regardless, pretty big late win there by the Lakers to close that one out and really get this team adjusted back to what they're used to. Because if they had dropped this game, a close one where they were leading late, and if they had choked that one away like they almost did here, that would have been really, really bad. There was a lot of people would have been talking about the Lakers for the next couple of days until they can finally get in the win column. Their next game is at San Antonio, so a good opportunity there to pick up a win. But if they had lost this game tonight, things could have gotten really ugly pretty quickly for them, but they did pick up that victory and move to 1-2 on the year. Their first 2 losses to the Warriors and the Suns, both obviously really good teams. The Warriors are now undefeated, 3-0 so far, and the Phoenix Suns, I think that is their only victory because they lost to Portland the other day. But the Suns, we know they're good. They just went to the finals last year, and they lost that back-to-back to Portland. So I'm not worried about Phoenix really, but this is not a video about the Suns anyway. So yeah. The Suns and the Warriors are really good teams, so nothing super concerning there with those losses, but I do want to talk about some of the stuff that I saw through those first couple of games and why it's important. So I made a short video about this a couple of days ago, but I did kind of have this realization when I was watching the Lakers' first game this year, and this is kind of carried over through these next couple, is that this team did the thing where they go into free agency and sign a bunch of veterans, a bunch of guys who have been all-stars in the past, guys who have, storied careers, long histories of being really good players, but obviously are kind of past that point now, and signed all those guys up. And, people made a big deal about that in the offseason, like, oh my gosh, they got Carmelo Anthony, they got Dwight Howard, they have, Rajon Rondo and DeAndre Jordan and all these guys that have, been former all-stars and been really good, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, the Lakers have 7 Hall of Famers on their team, or whatever it is, right? They have a ton of these players who are super good, and they're going to be crazy. It's a god squad. It's a stacked team. But obviously, everybody kind of knows that most of these players are well past their prime. They're superstars, of course, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, but all those other guys that I mentioned, Dwight, Rondo, and DeAndre Jordan, and all them, they're well past their prime, right? So people are kind of hyping up them as this huge super team because they have so many good, big names, but it's not necessarily going to carry over to them, being super duper awesome in the regular season. And the way that these pieces fit together is definitely kind of concerning, and I didn't really talk about this too much over the offseason, but I was not a huge fan of the Russell Westbrook trade just because I just felt like it wasn't going to be a good fit with what they have. Russ was at his best, for a couple of months there with the Rockets, with James Harden. Basically, they had to trade away their big guys. They traded away Clint Capella and just effectively played Russell Westbrook at center for a couple of months, and he had his best stretch of his career, potentially one of the best stretches of his in recent memory of Russell Westbrook came in that those couple of months in the spring with the Houston Rockets a few years ago. So That's how we've seen Russell Westbrook be the most effective. And what do the Lakers have? Well, they're actually a really big team, and they've got a lot of big guys on their roster. Of course, Anthony Davis, he wants to play power forward, but sometimes he's going to have to play center. That's his best lineup, so you have to have AD in there, of course. And then a lot of your rotation guys, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, of course you can cut them out of the rotation, but this team is just not really built to do the thing that we've seen Russell Westbrook be the most effective at. So that's my biggest thing with them right now, is that I just don't know how this fit works. We've kind of seen it be awkward over these first couple of games. I think it'll get better, but the way the roster is constructed right now is not necessarily conducive to Russell Westbrook's strengths as a player, as we've seen him display those over the last couple of years. And then I kind of got off track there when I was talking about the veterans and stuff, but the other thing is that these are, a lot of really good players and a lot of good guys who have been like all-stars in the past and been the lead man on their team. And a couple of them have, actually done a really good job of transitioning into a role and being more of a role player over the recent years. But it's fair to wonder whether them signing all these big names is it actually going to work on the court, or is it just going to be, we have all these players, but it's not necessarily a good fit together. And so that's the thing where it's like, okay, well, the first couple of games of this season, like, it's been a lot of LeBron, it's been a lot of Anthony Davis, and they've both been really good, but Russ has struggled a little bit. Carmelo Anthony had a really good game tonight, but obviously he's not going to be able to do that every day. And like DeAndre Jordan has been limited in minutes, like up and down a little bit, hasn't been super impressive. Dwight Howard has been fine, but got into a fight with Anthony Davis on the bench. Rondo and Westbrook on the court together is not something I ever want to see again, but apparently they're seem insistent on doing that, so I assume we're going to see it more. I would like them not to, but Rondo and Westbrook playing together, I guess it's going to happen. Who else do they have? Like Kent Bazemore is, he's not really an all-star guy, but has been a veteran role player for a while. Has his flaws as a player. I certainly watched him quite a bit with my Warriors last season. He's good, he's a good, three-point shooter and stuff. But the fouling and some poor decision-making offensively is going to drive a lot of Lakers fans crazy this year. What else? I mean, that's kind of like the theme with their role players, right? Is it's like it could work if you get the best version of all these guys, but a lot of them are just going to be inconsistent. They're old. That's the biggest thing. People have talked about this. They're old. Their guys have a lot of miles on their body, and so injuries could definitely be a big factor for them. We haven't seen that bear out yet, just 3 games into the year, but a lot of these guys could potentially be missing a lot of time just because they have a ton of miles on their body, and if they deal with any sort of injury, it could turn into an extended absence, and that's just not good for a team that already is looking maybe not quite as deep as we thought they would be coming into the year. So, I said that I made that little video, right, a couple of days ago, and I basically compared this season's Lakers team to the 2018 Cavaliers. So if you don't remember what happened that year, the Cavaliers had, a bunch of older guys. They had like Isaiah Thomas because of the Kyrie Irving deal. They also had, Dwayne Wade and Derrick Rose and a bunch of these older veterans like Jay Crowder and stuff. And at the trade deadline, they basically just flipped all of those guys away, like traded away half their roster for a bunch of different players. They brought in like Jordan Clarkson, and they brought in Larry Nance, and they brought in they just traded away Dwayne Wade for nothing, just got him off the team, got rid of Derrick Rose to the Jazz, and they traded Korver that year, I think, too. Just basically remade the entire roster at the deadline, and completely reshaped things. And they were still good enough to get to the finals, because LeBron was awesome for that playoff run, but they almost lost twice in the playoffs. They went to 7 games against the Pacers and against the Celtics in the conference finals, and came really close to losing, but they did get back to the finals, and then they lost to the Warriors pretty handily. I don't remember if that was the year that it was 5 or if it was a sweep, but it was not a close series that season, right? So 2018 Cavaliers basically, redid their entire roster around the deadline. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen with this year's Lakers team, but it's definitely something that's kind of on my radar right now, just because of the way that this roster is structured. They have obviously a lot of payroll wrapped up in their top 3: LeBron, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis. Those 3, obviously you're not trading LeBron or AD. You can trade Russ maybe, but that's tough to do at the deadline. It's easier to make a move like that in the offseason. So there's not much flexibility outside of those three to make a deal. But if some of their veteran role players are like not fitting the way that they want them to, or the team as a whole is just not winning as many games and they feel like they have to do something, this could be a team where we see them kind of completely flip directions at the deadline. They have a little bit of flexibility, with the contracts of like Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn, I believe, was on the mid-level exception, so he's making something. But you can potentially package a couple of those guys and make some trade if some of them just aren't playing well. And we saw that with the Cavaliers. A lot of people were saying some of the very same things, that they're saying about this team. They said them about the Cavaliers in 2018. With having guys like Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade on the team. Former All-Stars who are kind of past their prime a little bit. I guess with Derrick Rose, he's really lengthened his career, but that was very late career Dwayne Wade. So they kind of just got rid of those guys, and I think we could see the same thing here if they feel like they need to shake up the locker room or do something. That's something that I'm a little bit keeping my eyes out for as the year goes along. If the Lakers are struggling, that could be a panic button for them, and it's not without precedent because we've seen the LeBron team do it before. I think my bottom line here is I am not convinced that this Lakers team is the finals shoe-in that a lot of people thought they were going to be, and I don't just say that based on the first 3 games of the year. Throughout the offseason, I was never super high on the Lakers. Of course, they're going to be really good, but they just have some concerns that I couldn't really get past, and we're kind of seeing them bear out right now. They just don't have the level of depth that I think a lot of people assumed. I'm still a little bit, tepid on the Westbrook fit. I don't know how that's going to work out. I think it'll improve as the year goes along because these are smart players, but I just am not. I just think that they have some issues that are not necessarily fixed with time, just the way that these players play. So that's my thoughts on LA so far. I don't want to overreact. I don't want to freak out. Because, like I said, I still do think they're going to be a very good team. But, I've seen some stuff that's confirmed some of my suspicions from over the offseason. And I'm not sold on the Lakers as, this super team God squad that people were, expecting them to be. And, to be fair, I could say a lot of these same things about the Nets right now because they're also 1-2 and they're missing Kyrie Irving for who knows how long. And maybe I'll talk about them soon, but the Nets have also had some issues that have played out. So these two teams that everyone was like, oh my gosh, like they're going to run through the league, like, I don't know. I really think this is a year where we have a ton of parity in the NBA. It's these two teams are, they're going to be there at the end. Of course, the Bucks, title defenses, they're going to be really good as well. There's a bunch of other teams in the East, like the Hawks and the Heat and the Sixers are all going to be good. Out West, you have, if the Clippers, if Kawhi's healthy, Nuggets, if Jamal Murray's healthy, Warriors, if Klay Thompson's healthy. You can also, talk about the Jazz or the Phoenix Suns, of course, to get back to the finals. So, all those teams I just listed, plus probably more that I forgot, I think are all title threats. And if the Lakers and the Nets are not as good as people think, then that's just better for the league because we will see some really, really close and exciting playoff battles. And I think it's just fun when nobody knows who's going to win the title. So maybe that's this whole reaction is just part of me hoping that the Lakers are not as good so that we can have a really exciting season of basketball where they don't run through the Western Conference. Not that I ever thought they were going to, but I am just hoping that we get a wide open title race because I felt like that was close to what we had last year and it was a really fun season. So the league's in a good spot right now, and I guess we'll just see how all this plays out from here. But yeah, that tangent aside, I think that's all I have on the Lakers in today's video. Like I said at the top of the video, if you are new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell if you want to. Leave a comment letting me know what you guys think about the Lakers, their season so far. What are their struggles? What are you guys seeing? I would love to hear your thoughts on that down in the comments below. And with all that said, I will see you guys in the next one.